Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called The Great Mistake, written by Oriel117. Log entry 1337, The Great Mistake. It was well known who the Shimsha were, a great spacefaring race renowned for their overwhelming military might. It was also known which species laid them so very low. The humans. That is the subject of this log. The humans are a bipedal mammalian race with very little hair, no fur, no scales, no carapace, and no feathers, meaning, aside from the tops of their heads and other less relevant places, there is nothing but flesh. This much is common knowledge, along with the fact that humans are notorious for squabbling amongst themselves more than other occupants in the galaxy. They have divided themselves into nations. The first is the United Systems Alliance, or the USA for short. This nation rose out of the United States of America once proper FTL travel had become common enough. They followed many of the same laws and traditions as their earthbound counterparts, so it wasn't hard to trace their roots. Their home star is called Washington Star, while their capital has the name Washington, which does get a small bit confusing. The USA is famed within the human nations for their great industrial might and their well-rounded military, though they come under a lot of flack from the other human nations for their presidents they choose and the lack of proper democracy. The next is the Great British Empire. Apparently, after a near 100 years of relative inactivity, the British regained their innovative zeal from their Victorian age and were the first into space using FTL, but not the first to make a nation of it. They call their home star Albion, with the planet they call their capital being called London. The Great British Empire, a constitutional monarchy, is known for its innovative zeal and highly skilled and well-funded navy, with such as the emphasis on exploration and colonization. A large navy was needed to protect their interests, and it is one of the greatest in the galaxy. Their arrogance often annoys the other human nations, however, and they get called traditionalist fools by many other nations for having a monarch, despite it being mostly ceremonial, aside from the military. The Kaisarek is next, with their home star of Prussia, holding a very strategic point in the galaxy, being a gateway to the outside galaxy, in one direction for the humans. Around the star orbits the planet Berlin, the Kaisarek's capital. These humans are famed for their astounding army, outmatching almost anyone in the galaxy with their discipline and tactics. They are also specialists in ground vehicles, producing the most versatile and capable vehicles the galaxy has ever seen. However, they are often seen as warmongers and unjust conquerors. The final one we'll be discussing today is the Yi dynasty, originating from the Chinese nation of Earth. While I can't pronounce or even understand the words this nation uses for places, as they are written and spoken in an entirely different dialect from the Latin originating languages of the other three, I do have the translations. The star the capital orbits they call the Kingdom of Heaven, while the capital itself is called the Jade Palace. They are similar to the USA in their production capabilities, but seem to focus this more on a trade than the USA. They produce a lot of consumer goods, which they export to the rest of the galaxy, which funds their enormous population and army. So many people live in the Yi dynasty that it is near impossible to calculate how many times over that they could colonize the Tai Sea's entire territory. They do get ostracized a bit for their more left-leaning views than most humans would deem reasonable. These are all the nations of the humans that I will be discussing, and they will come up in future logs, to be sure. But for now, this is all that is needed. Was I to list every nation, I would need another terabyte of storage for the names alone. None of the human nations lay claim to the Sol system, nor Earth, the humans' homeworld. Instead, it is treated as almost a sacred place of meeting, where the rights of Earth are seen to, above all else, and where nations meet without fear of conflict. The humans on Earth enjoy the guarantee that should they be attacked, every single human nation across the galaxy will rush to their aid and not cease their attacks until the aggressors are wiped off the face of the universe. They have never had to act on this. Now, I must detail the great mistake, as an introduction to just what happens when you attack any of the humans. The Shumsha are a reptilian race with 6 limbs, 4 legs, 2 arms, and with teeth sharp enough to cut through steel. They are a warlike people, conquering and subjugating all they could and growing very rich off their spoils. They also practiced slavery, which drew the humans' ire. Not long after they confirmed the reports of slave ships, had every human nation denounced the Shumsha. The Great British Empire even formed a fleet with the express purpose of intercepting these slave ships and setting the hostages free. Apparently, when the British Empire ruled a large portion of Earth, their Royal Navy had spent a great deal of resources stopping slave ships from other nations on Earth, to their own cost and drawing the ire of everyone else. The Great British Empire saw it as their duty to continue this law out in the reaches of space, and so they did. Every time a slave ship was captured, it made headline news in the Great British Empire. Their populace would rally together to aid the freed slaves with money, food, and a temporary place to stay, as it was the duty of the citizens of the empire to pick up where the military left off. Millions of slaves were resettled throughout the galaxy, the great nations of humanity aiding the British in this one endeavor without question. The USA would produce buildings and ships to bring these freed people to a planet with a roof over their head. The Caesaract would provide planetary support to these new colonies until they could do so themselves, and the Yi dynasty would make the new settlers whatever they wanted until their first factories were set up, and the Royal Navy would escort these people to their new home when the time came. The humans were unified on this one point alone. No matter the race, no sentient being should suffer to bear the burden of slavery. These acts brought the humans incredible praise through a large section of the galaxy, while the slaver guilds did nothing but fester in anger. Soon enough, the Shimsha and a small coalition of nations joined together, after festering this anger for too long, and declared war on the great empire. The goal? Enslavement. Within 3 solar cycles, every single human, even those from Earth, rallied to the defense of the great empire. Earth had its own fleet at the bleeding edge of technology. Every nation would contribute something to Earth's defense, and now this great cooperative effort could have its sights set on the slavers. The war didn't last long, a solar year. The human leaders met on Earth, elected to let the British lead the war effort due to their near indomitable navy and the fact that they were the ones under attack. The great admirals of the British coordinated these fleets in a way never before seen. It was a month of learning what each nation had to offer the British until they found a workable strategy due to all the conflicting doctrines and specialties. But the British were the naval masters amongst the humans, so they got to work. Once the month was up, the first Shimsha fleets were spotted moving into unclaimed border colonies. The combined human fleet raced to meet them. The Shimsha had studied the British and their naval strategies. The British relied on large, heavy ships to decimate the opposition in one swift strike. Then, using their various types of cruisers, they would chase down the enemy and finish them off. All of this was protected by the thick screen of destroyers with point defense and other defensive measures. The Shimsha had prepared for this by using small and fast ships to avoid the opening barrage. This proved futile, however. Not only did the British account for this with their own cruisers, but the Yi dynasty specialized in overwhelming the enemy with pure numbers. The Shimsha strategy of swarm your enemy was met with a perfect counter, and the fleet was swiftly obliterated. The humans then came to ground combat, where they deployed the elite troops of the Caesarac, along with the old cavalry unit from the United Baltic Front called the Winged Hussars. Their elite forces eliminated the ground troops of the Shimsha, despite the Shimsha having physical superiority over the humans in almost every single way. So devastating were the losses that for the rest of the war, the humans just sat back and relaxed as they took planet after planet, star after star, until they had all but wiped out the Shimsha and their allies. In the older slaver nation's place now stands 3 independent nations, the Democratic Shimsha Confederation was formed by the USA. The Shimsha Autocracy was formed by Britain, and finally, the Union of Three Stars, the Shimsha's homeworld orbits a trinary set of stars, was formed by the Caesaract. That was the great mistake in a nutshell. A war that lasted a year and now serves as a warning to the galaxy. Attack one human, and you attack them all. End of story. There is a new legend on the horizon. Blueberry Cat has taken the T6 Patreon spot. Thank you very much, and I'm sure that I speak for everyone when I say that. I would just like to thank our T5 members, Lord Azrical, Ambrose Cattell, Quantum Wednesday, Drexoon WRE, Blueberry Cat, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Bushmaster 177, and Leslie 517. Thank you very much.